And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Friday, March 8th. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by DK. We're brought to you by BetMGM. 6-game slate ahead of us. We've got the big 80K entry contest on DraftKings. Lots to talk about. Kind of a weird slate. And I have a couple stands that people don't seem to be on, and that maybe that's my path to 100K, or maybe, just maybe, that's how I lose all my money. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. What's good, man? How you feeling about this one?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a pretty fun slate. I'm glad it's Friday. 6 games should be an interesting one to talk about. So yeah, excited to dive in.
I think you need to mute playback stage. Bottom left corner of playback. Could be wrong.
Yeah, it is muted.
Is it?
Yeah.
You have now become echoey to me. Jordan, same thing for you, or am I a moron? Are you serious? All right, maybe I'm the one that needs to mute playback. DK, I need to go into playback and mute playback. Bottom left-hand corner. I'm an idiot. I was just like, I'm pretty sure I'm hearing this.
I know. I was like, unless I'm blind, I see the red in the bottom left corner.
My bad.
You're good.
Anyway. What a slate. How much Anthony Edwards did you have last night?
A lot. And that worked out well. I lost years off my life with him going back and forth from the locker room. I was like, I didn't even know what to do. I was like, I thought the second time when he went back to the locker room that he was done for sure. But yeah, that was one of my big stands. Was I was way overweight to Anthony Edwards, and yeah, I was just like, what is? I've never seen anything like that too. Like he would go back and then be back in like a minute.
I wanted him to be gone from the first rolled ankle. I definitely wanted him to be gone the second time he went back there. That did not work out for me. I only had like 6% of him last night, so I was rooting against it. And we were live on playback for that rolled ankle, so that was kind of fun.
It feels like whenever Ant goes to the locker room, it's like a very good chance he's coming back. At least recently. Last like 3 or 4 times he's gone to the locker room, he always seems to come back.
I just feel like he goes in and gets the Lance Harbor shot to the knee, and he's just
like whatever he's getting, I want that.
Yeah, for sure. Or he's just like not made out of human parts, like titanium or something. Well, lots to talk about here. Very weird slate. Highest total of any one of the 6 games is 225.5. I mean, we've got a 204 for Orlando and New York. That game is dreadful, and I don't know, might stay dreadful depending on the Jalen Brunson news. But we got a lot to talk about. Let's dive in. If you're here and you haven't done it yet, folks, hit that like button. It helps us out a ton. New Orleans Pelicans, 7.5-point favorites in Philadelphia, 221 total. Not much to say here for the Pels. Everybody that's normally available is available. On the Philly side, no Maxey, no Embiid, no Melton. We're used to that. Q tag on Nick Batum, which matters a little bit more than it normally does on a 6-game slate, but we can get into that shortly. Not a lot of ownership coming into the Pelicans side. sub 10% for everybody. Only Zion gets north of 10% optimal, and that is just barely at 10.7%. You liking anything here for the Pels?
No, I think it's a lot of the secondary plays. Usually when this team is fully healthy, that is the case. 8.1K for Zion, I think would be my preferred option if I had to play someone on New Orleans. The Pelicans have shown like they will go small ball at times, and we've seen them bench JV a good amount. Larry Nance getting starts in second halves, and then we've seen Zion play some small ball 5. So I think that's possible against Philly, who's also shown that they don't, or the minutes are all over the place for their bigs as well. They've shown that they can go small. So I think Zion would probably be my preferred option, but 8.1K, again, it's not like an amazing price point. Ingram and CJ are viable as well. I don't think I can get to JV at 6K. The minutes have just been too volatile for me. And again, he's only center eligible. There's a lot of good center plays on this slate that we'll talk about. So don't really think I can get to him. Again, Larry Nance, we mentioned, has started second halves at times, but he's only center eligible as well. I guess like maybe a little bit interested in him as a contrarian play. But I think for me, like a little bit interested in Zion, and that's about it. I think it's kind of hard to get to Murphy and Jones at their price points too.
I have 7 different Pelicans in my lineups and no Pelican more than 3%.
Sounds about right.
These guys are just showing up in my lineups as the last guy in barely. Yep. And that's sort of how I see it. Like, I wouldn't mind having a little bit more Zion. I wouldn't mind having a little bit more Brandon Ingram or CJ McCollum. I just don't think that any of these guys look that great. They've been pretty stable lately. We've had, BI, Zion, and CJ. Like, CJ's been back for 3 games. BI has been in for the past 5. Zion's been in for the past 10. So their prices are sort of where they're supposed to be. It's just really not squeezing out too much value. Philly plays relatively slow. They certainly play slower without Maxey and with Kyle Lowry. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that transition has to change a little bit. So I don't anticipate having much of the Pelicans here unless we get some really weird news in the next 2 hours.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like if you land on one of those main Pelicans, I don't think you're gonna be mad about it, but it's really hard to feel super confident or go like out of my way to play one of those top guys.
Now, I feel quite differently about the Philadelphia 76ers, but the public doesn't seem to. Highest owned guy for Philly, 7% owned Kelly Oubre, 6% Tobias Harris. It's a little different on FanDuel, where Kyle Lowry is pulling 37% ownership. Not that I disagree. Does anybody stand out to you from Philly? Because right now I have 3 guys, 20% or more.
I think we're on the same boat. I'm a lot higher on Philly, I think, than the field is right now. So on the season with Embiid and Maxey off the court, you got Tobias Harris, about a 1.06 fantasy point per minute player. Oubre sitting at 1.03. Paul Reed's actually at 1.1. But again, his minutes are kind of all over the place. I think Lowry at 5.7 is a pretty interesting play. 36, 33, and 36 minutes over the last 3 games. He's also averaging 11 potential assists in those games. He's been the primary ball handler, and 2 of those games Maxey was in as well. So yeah, I'm definitely higher on Lowry, I think, than the field is. And then even these wings, I think Oubre at 6.2K is going under owned. Expect 30 plus minutes from him off the bench. He's going to look a little bit better, I think, if Batum sits. Batum currently questionable, and Batum's been playing big minutes too, 30 plus minutes for the last 3. So that could open up some more minutes for some of those wings. Tobias Harris has been disappointing of late, but again, we've seen some ceiling games from him when Embiid and Maxey are out. We saw 60 from him on the first against Charlotte. So the ceiling's clearly there for him. And then Paul Reed is always someone that I like playing at low ownership, just because we talked about it on these streams. The minutes fluctuate for him. It seems like some games he's barely playing, some games he's playing a lot. Last game played 24 minutes and had a huge game. And he is a good point per minute player. Again, 1.1 with those 2 off the court. So I'm a bit higher, I think, on the 76ers than the field is. I like Lowry, I like Oubre, I like Harris, and I have some interest in Paul Reed too.
Kelly Oubre is in 20% of my lineups. He's 7% owned, 6,200, shooting guard, small forward eligible. 28% usage rate this season with the guys that are available on the floor, but no Maxey, no Embiid. That's a big, big number. His points prop is like 18.5 or 19.5, something like that. Very happy to get to him if he's going to be sub 10% owned. certainly be the guy doing a lot of scoring. And honestly, at that price tag and position, I don't mind too much. I've got 25% Kyle Lowry at 5% owned. Basically the same situation. If I'm going to be in an 80K contest or 80,000 entrant contests, I'm very happy to take some stands here on these like sub 10% guys. Lowry, you mentioned the potential assist numbers. I think that is a very interesting piece of what we're doing here. The minutes are the key piece for me. Like, I assume he's playing 32 plus based on those last couple games. He's coming off a game of rest, like on purpose rest, not like he's got to rest. So I think he's okay. And then I've got 27% of Tobias Harris at minimal ownership. If this game is close for Philly, those are the three guys that are probably doing a lot of that work. Buddy Hield obviously could be a bit of a problem, but I don't really love his price tag right now. I just want to get to all of them. I mean, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the one thing to note too with Buddy Hield is they haven't been closing with him, which I kind of find surprising, especially with how shorthanded they've been. And you mentioned the price point's up on him. So that he is one that I know he's low owned too, but I think I would just rather take shots in those other wings. Harris, Oubre, the minute's been way more secure. So that one just surprised me because I've noticed like the last 2 or 3 games, he has not been closing.
And they just haven't been giving him those big minutes that we saw early in his tenure. Last 5 games, 31, 28, 28, 32, 29, 27 and a half in the game before that. So you don't have that. Like, I feel like they're way more likely to give Kelly Oubre a couple extra minutes, kind of like how we saw him get 34 and a half and 36 in the past 2. So that makes, and I have them projected pretty similarly from a minutes perspective, but I like the upside of Kelly Oubre's minutes a little bit more than Hield. All it takes for Hield, though, to get a couple extra minutes is to do the thing that he's the best at, which is just if those threes are falling, like they're going to keep him out there.
Yeah, like I think if he's playing well, shooting well, he like it's definitely possible he could play like 35, 36, 37 minutes. I mean, you mentioned when he first came over, he was playing like close to 40 minutes a game. That's why I'm a little bit surprised on with how shorthanded they've been that the minutes have really not been there.
Yeah, that's the weird part to me. It's not like everybody came back and that's the reason the minutes came down. It's not really the case at all. Like they're playing Jeff Doughton and bigger minutes to campaign. Like just play Buddy Hield more. I have a couple shares of Buddy Hield. I have a couple shares of Paul Reed as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's your thoughts on the big situation? Because they've been, I mean, they started Mo Bamba for a couple games. Now they're back to Paul Reed. I mean, he had a huge game. He only played 24 minutes, fouled out. Like, again, like the minutes, like I just never know what to do with his minutes, but the ownership's not there, which is why he's always going to be appealing tournament play.
I gave him 25 minutes. It's giving me 5% of him. It's what we have him projected for ownership wise, but like he's a perfect GPP play because the day you're right when he plays like 30, he's also probably playing pretty well and paying off, you know, getting to 35 fantasy points and being a guy that you want to get to. So I love him in GPPs, but he's so hard to look at and just think, oh, he looks good today because there's no trust in his playing time at all.
Right.
Definitely a guy I'm interested in having, especially on a 6-game slate.
Yep.
All righty. I got nothing else here for Philly.
Yeah, ready to move on.
Schedule's simple for the rest of the day. NBA Live before lock coming up next. You get Greg and Eric breaking this bad boy down all the way until 7 p.m. And then you get playback. We hop on, well, we're live on playback right now. If you want to watch there, you can. But playback.tv/stochastic. We are watching the games, guys. You could watch along with us. 0 latency, too. Whatever we're seeing, you're seeing at the exact same time. It's a fantastic model. You don't have to pay anything to do it. You might even be able to grab a VIP pass from us so that you could watch League Pass if you don't already have it. We're doing giveaways. We've been doing a giveaway based on score of the first basket of whichever game we're watching. We're doing that again tonight. You have a chance to get a week's worth. I believe it's a week. It could be a month. I'm going to say a week now. I'm going to under promise and potentially over deliver. I think it's a week of Odds Shopper Premium if you get that first basket correct. So we're going to be doing that again. Going to be hanging out for a while. We're there for an hour every night at a minimum. An hour takes us all the way up until the final game locks today. So we've got nothing but time to try and sweat this one out. If anybody has a live lineup, should be a great night. Make sure you're joining us at playback.tv/stochastic. Link is in chat. Oh, this game. I don't even want to talk about it. Charlotte Hornets, 2-point underdogs in Washington, 225 total. This is the toilet bowl. This is the number 30 ranked team in net rating against the number 29 ranked team in net rating. This is the 29th offense against the 30th defense. It's the 26th ranked offense against the 28th ranked defense. The only thing that makes this matchup any more appealing is that Washington plays at the fastest pace in the league, whereas Charlotte is sort of the opposite. I will add a caveat. Charlotte's defense has been good lately. I don't really know how to like rectify that in my mind, but they have been a lot better as of late. At least that is something I heard on a podcast, and I'm saying back to everyone with no research whatsoever. 20% ownership to Brandon Miller, 25 to Vasily Micic, around 15 for Trey Mann, around 15 for Miles Bridges. Call it just shy of 10 on Davis Bertans, Grant Williams, and Nick Richards. The Charlotte side of this one has the Q tag on Trey Mann, which has a pretty big trickle-down effect to the rest of this. I'm just going to open it up to you because there's clearly a lot of options. What do you like for the Charlotte Hornets?
Yeah, so I got one question for you because I don't think you're going to get this. Do you want to know who's leading the team right now, fantasy point per minute, since returning from All-Star break for the Hornets?
I mean, Miles Bridges is the obvious answer, but you're not going to tell me that it's Miles Bridges. So,
no.
Is it Bertans?
It is. Right now,
oh my God.
Bertans is actually leading the way, 0.98 fantasy points per minute.
Wow.
I was looking at the data. I was like, wow. I mean, Charlotte's been bad. Like, no one's over 1 fantasy point per minute since returning from break. They've been really bad. But yeah, that one kind of blew my mind. But yeah, so Bertans is 4.2. I mean, I guess we'll start there. 26 minutes in back-to-back games. I think he's interesting for value. The one downside with Bertans, as most people know, is he's relatively score independent, but the ownership's not really there on him right now. So I think he's interesting for tournaments. We also do have to keep an eye on the stats of Trey Mann. He's still questionable. I think that could open up a little bit more as well. I mean, Charlotte's been running a pretty tight rotation. The most recent game, they only played 8 guys. You only saw 17 minutes for Bryce McGowan's as well. So 7 guys, Miller, Mann, Richards, Bridges, Micic, Bertans, and Grant Williams all played a good chunk of minutes. So that is the one positive. And you mentioned too, it's a really good matchup as well. So I think any of these main guys look pretty good. Bridges has been a little bit disappointing of late, but I think he's the guy with the highest ceiling. He's only getting about 16% ownership. I think I like getting overweight to him. Micic right now is about double the ownership of Trey Mann. I think if Trey Mann plays, I would prefer Mann at about half the ownership to Micic. Both have shooting guard eligibility, which is nice as well. Nick Richards had an awful game last game, 8 fantasy points in 27 minutes, but this is a really good spot. Like, we like attacking bigs against the Wizards. So I think he's pretty interesting at sub 10% ownership as well. So I get why this team is getting ownership. It's gross. It's disgusting. I mean, I'm never excited about playing the Hornets, but I think you have to have interest in this team with the way they're running the rotation plus the matchup.
And then if Trey Mann happens to get ruled out, even more interest is going to be, coming into this Hornets team. So right now I'm neutral on Brandon Miller. Has not been playing well. 0.91 DraftKings points per minute over the past 30 days. I obviously have it projected a little bit better than that. And clearly this matchup for Charlotte is fantastic. Horrid defense, incredibly fast pace. I have them gaining over 4 possessions over their normal pace. So that stands out to me. I am getting to Micic, 5,300 point guard, shooting guard. I mean, he and Mann are basically the same dude. 0.91 DraftKings points per minute for Micic over the past 30 days. 0.93 for Mann. They're the exact same position, but Mann happens to just be $500 more expensive. Now, I have Trey Mann's like raw talent a little bit higher than Micic, but that's neither here nor there for this example. I'm getting to Micic. I'm not getting to as much Mann. We'll see how that changes when injury news comes out. I'm just getting like around 10 to 15% on most of these guys. I don't have 16% of Bridges like the ownership shows, but I did get to around 10% of Bridges. I'm getting to 10% of Nick Richards. I've got a little bit of Bertans, a little bit of Grant Williams. Like, you just kind of, I don't want to watch this game and cheer for things because they're so bad, but I don't know how you get away from some of these parts. Like, I don't see anybody as, oh man, I got to get this guy, but they've got a lot of, oh, I'm pretty happy to have that guy.
Yeah, like I think this is a team that you're going to need some exposure to, right? I don't think you have to go crazy on anyone, but this is definitely a team I don't think you can cross off.
No, not so much. What do you think happens here if Trey Mann isn't active?
Yeah, so my guess is if Mann can't play, I would guess they move McGowan's into the starting lineup. I don't think they would go like Grant Williams because I think they just need like another guard. And I think so too. We've seen McGowan's get spot starts a lot, so like I think he would probably start and play. I think probably 20 plus minutes. I mean, fortunately, I think you would have to have some interest in him because he's 3.1K.
Yeah.
But that's never a fun experience either.
He's going to skyrocket in ownership to like staggering levels. I mean, let's say, how many minutes do you want to give him here in this case? If man is out, 28. Does that sound crazy?
Yeah, I would say probably mid-20s, maybe a little more.
Okay. Let's go 27. Let's be a little bit more pessimistic than my first guess.
Okay.
He's a 0.75 fantasy point per minute guy. So right away, that's 20 and a quarter fantasy points at 3,100. That is 6.5x his salary. That is that's gonna get it done, I think, on a day like today. That's just like one of the easiest value pieces you're gonna find here. It allows you to very easily pay up to the non-existent pay up options that exist. Non-existent pay up options that exist. That's a sentence I just said. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander sitting there at 10.5. Brunson's at 9,500, who may or may not play. The next most expensive guys are DeJounte Murray at 9,200, Anthony Edwards at 9K. You're basically just buying a free 8K, 9K dude, or really unlocking the access to Shai if we get the ability to get to Bryce McGowan's in a starting lineup. I don't like the feel of that because Bryce McGowan's is terrible.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think if man gets rolled out and he starts, it's going to push up the ownership a bit in those top end guys. But right now, like, we really don't have a lot of options in the 3K range. So
yeah,
I think he would be a pretty popular play if he starts and man gets rolled out.
Oh, it's going to be brutal. I really don't want it.
No, yeah. I don't want it either. I've rostered him before, and I think he's got me like sub 10 points every time. So like I said, it's really, really an awful experience playing Bryce McGowan's.
There's only two guys getting more than 10% ownership sub 4K. It's Dean Wade at 10% and Rashawn Holmes at 17. I don't know how I feel much. Like, I'm getting Rashawn Holmes, but that's a different question for a different time of this show. If Bryce McGowan's gets the start in man's spot, like, his ownership's going to be 30, 40, 50% today.
Yeah, he's going to be one of the highest owned plays, I think.
The highest owned play right now is Sadiq Bey at 41%. I think that McGowan's is probably at that number if it happens.
Yeah, I would say right around there.
Oh, God, it's just so gross. It's so
kind of makes me want to throw up a little bit thinking about it.
Yeah, for sure. So I'd have him at like -4. Yeah, I mean, he'd be like certainly one of the 5 best plays, and obviously the easiest dude to roster. Shooting guard, small forward eligibility, and essentially no salary. So get excited, folks. If you want to play Bryce McGowan's, we're rooting against Trey Mann's health for today. Does that do anything to Micic for you if Man is out? Do you think that he is in line to play a couple extra minutes?
Yeah, I think I would give him a few extra minutes, a little more ball handling as well. I would say it would bump him up a little bit for me. It would definitely, I would like him a little more.
Do we like anything else if Man is out, other than just incremental changes to the guys that are already in?
Yeah, I think it would make me like Bertans and Grant Williams a little bit more, just because I think they would play a little extra or get extra run. I don't think it would be like a huge change to anyone else. But yeah, incremental to like all the rotation players.
Do you think there's let's hypothesize this one for a second. Tough word. Any chance Nick Smith would get the start?
I don't think so, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. Like, I think if Man doesn't play, that he would probably enter the rotation. I think they would go McGowan's, but we have seen, I believe, maybe 1 or 2 games this season where he's picked up the start too. So I wouldn't completely rule it out.
Yeah. It'd be something to keep an eye on. I assume he's min salary. I'm going to look quick.
He is, yeah.
All right. So most of what we're saying about McGowan's would probably still hold the same way for Nick Smith. Like, he's just going to be a flat min guy playing, if he's starting, playing 20-something minutes. Just something I want to think about, because I know he's with the team. They have nothing to play for. Why not get your rookie some additional time in a game that this is like the perfect time to do that? Unless he's somehow the reincarnation of James Bouknight and he's drunk behind the wheel of his car in a parking lot somewhere.
Yeah, the Hornets, they have special talent picking guys like that.
Yeah, not great. Shout out to James Bouknight. Like, you can't hear this. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Washington side. So they get to face the terrible Charlotte Hornets defense, which has been middle of the pack over the past 2 weeks. This is where the ownership is right now. And is no Marvin Bagley again, no Landry Shamet. 30% to Jordan Poole, 25% to Corey Kispert, Denny Avdia, and Kyle Kuzma, 20 to Tyus Jones and Rashawn Holmes, and another 10 to Bilal Coulibaly. Start wherever you want, because this is the team that has the most ownership on today's slate right now.
Yeah, once again, unfortunately, we're going to have a lot of interest in this Washington Wizards team. Again, no Bagley, no Shamet. My guess is they go that small ball starting lineup as again with Kuzma at the 5. But wanted to start with Jordan Poole. Let's take a look at his numbers since returning from break. He has a 31.5% usage right now, and he is a 1.21 fantasy point per minute player, again, since returning from All-Star break. Now, the ownership is there on him, but yeah, I mean, he's been a completely different player. This is the Jordan Poole we kind of expected at the beginning of the year. And he's, I think, I don't know, shifting to the bench has given him confidence boost. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I'm pretty high on him. I'm expecting around 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more. Again, he's getting the ownership. I think I'm not as high on Corey Kispert. He's getting ownership right now in the mid-20s. You know, I think he does play good minutes, but I'm a little bit underweight to him. And then the other guys getting love, Danny and Kuzma, totally agree. I'm very high in Kuzma. Right now, again, since returning from break, Kuzma is a 1.31 fantasy point per minute player guy. Fantasy point per minute player. So sub 8K in a great spot. I think he looks really good. Rashawn Holmes is one that I'm kind of torn on what I want to do right now. He did in their most recent game come off the bench and play 25 minutes. But I think his minutes could definitely fluctuate. I don't think he has to play those minutes again. But he is a good point per minute player. And if you give him 20 plus minutes again, he's going to stand out as a really good value.
I went 22.
Okay.
We had 20 on our last run. I just don't really trust it. It's giving me a ton of him if I have 22 minutes, which scares the shit out of me. But the price tag's great. Like, he's a good enough per minute guy that if he's getting that run, certainly against, in this case, it'd be like the second unit of the Hornets. I think Rashawn Holmes could probably play pretty well against, in this scenario, I guess it's Grant Williams would be the 5 out there against Holmes. Like, I don't know. I don't want to get overexposed to Rashawn Holmes, but I do find him interesting. And we know now, like, he played 25 minutes last time out. I'm going to treat that as like the ceiling of minutes. If I project him for 21 and I'm still getting him, knowing that he could get 4 more minutes potentially makes me feel a little bit better. But he's the scariest dude. I'm getting to Kuzma a little bit north of the field. I'm getting to Tyus Jones a little bit north of the field. I am getting to Corey Kispert at 4,400. I'm not stoked about it. I don't feel like I ever get that guy right. Facing Charlotte makes it seem like he'll get some open looks and clearly a good shooter. Neutral to Denny. This is the team that I have more exposure to than anybody else. The only guy that I'm under on is Poole. And I don't even feel like I have him projected poorly. Like, I have him 0.2 of a point ahead of where we have him, but I'm thinking there's just easier pivots in that 6K guard range, and that's what's causing me to be a little bit light. I still have 17%. It's not like I'm ignoring him, but if he's 30% owned, that's the guy it seems like I'm going to be a little lighter on. Although, I mean, we're talking about 29, 30% usage as of late. Actually becoming a functional guy. I guess this is just like lighting a fire under him. He's pissed. I don't know.
This is the Poole I expected. Like, I honestly really thought he was gonna have a good year for the Wizards. So I was surprised like how bad he was playing for a long stretch. But yeah, I remember he said he was pretty frustrated moving to the bench. So I guess it maybe, like you said, lit a fire under him. The only other thing I wanted to mention was I found it interesting, the ownership gap with Kispert and Coulibaly. He's like 3x the ownership. I think those two are relatively similar plays. I think Kispert obviously has the higher ceiling, but I think Coulibaly is maybe going a little bit under-owned for a guy that probably plays, close to 30 minutes.
I think the only thing missing for Coulibaly is the fact that he's been so bad on a per minute basis as of late. 0.63 DraftKings points per minute over the last 30 days. I have him as like a 0.7 guy, just raw talent. But you have that solid positionality at 4,300. 9% ownership is certainly appealing. It doesn't take much for him to fall into a big game. I mean, at that salary, based on this slate size, I think you're looking for 30 fantasy points. I don't think that that's like a crazy number to get to if you're facing Charlotte. Like, if Bilal Coulibaly plays 30 minutes and scores 33 fantasy points, you're very happy with that performance at that salary. And we're talking about a 1.2 0.1 fantasy point per minute rate. Like that doesn't even register to anything. It's not even that good of a game on the surface, but it's enough to pay off that salary on a 6-gamer.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's been bad, but at least the minutes are there. You've seen like pop-off games from him like randomly. Like you saw like a 40 bomb from him against Boston. Couple of big games like on the season. I'm scrolling back through his box score, but recently he's been very bad point per minute. So you're not going to be excited to roster him.
Anything else you want to touch on here for Washington? They just look fantastic.
No, I think they're one of my favorite teams to target on the slate.
You and me both. Minnesota Timberwolves are 2.5-point underdogs in Cleveland, 206 total. We do not currently know the status of Anthony Edwards. He is questionable with that sprained ankle from last night. Jordan McLaughlin also questionable with whatever that illness is. Monty Morris is out, picked up an injury last night. And then we obviously know Karl Anthony Towns had the meniscus removal. So we'll see how that shakes out for him. 15% ownership to Ant, 15% ownership to Rudy Gobert. Basically nothing else for these guys. Let's talk through Ant and Gobert first.
Yeah, I think I'm a bit higher on
we Ant just got we got the news we were waiting on.
What is it?
Trey Mann out. Also, okay. Jalen Suggs out.
Was Suggs even on the injury report?
That's a great question. So. No, he was not. Wendell Carter Jr. is in, though. He was on the injury report. So Charlotte obviously looking a little bit different. Glad we hit on that now. Back to Minnesota.
Right. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on the stats of Anthony Edwards. I mean, right now, if I had to lean, I would say he's going to play. He's questionable. He usually does push through it, but it is a back-to-back. So you never know. Like if he gets rolled out, that would completely flip the slate on its head. But yeah, I think even though the matchup's not great, you should get big minutes. I mean, he played 39 minutes, and I felt like he was spending like half the game in the locker room last game. So yeah, I'm pretty high in Ant at his ownership right now. Kyle Anderson, I mean, everyone knows what's going to happen here. He's going to absolutely smash after he was like 75% home last night, and now no one's going to play him, and he's going to have like a triple-double. Like it's just going to happen. Gobert, I think, is reasonable. I think I prefer Jarrett Allen on the opposite side, who we'll talk about. But Gobert's playing huge minutes right now in competitive games. And then as a contrarian play, I kind of like Naz Reid at 1%. In the most recent game, he played 26 minutes. Again, if he just could find his way into a few extra minutes, or you get Gobert foul trouble, something weird, he's a really good point per minute player. So he's always someone at low ownership that I'm intrigued by for GPP. So I do like Naz Reid for tournaments. I don't really think there's anything else. The price of McDaniels is up. Again, he's been awful. NAW is way too pricey. Conley is just like there as he always is. So I think for me, it's Ant, Gobert, and then Naz Reid as contrarian play.
I want to have a conversation about Rudy Gobert. I think the entire industry is wrong on him. Everybody, every single site, ours included for right now. Here are the minutes for Rudy Gobert at center over the past 30 days, starting with his most recent game. 39.7, 39, 40.5, 42, 27, 39, 38, 26, 37. This dude's not playing 36 minutes a night and hasn't been for a month. I'm going 38 to Rudy Gobert today. Especially with Towns out now, it seems like a more likely scenario that he's going to eat more minutes at center. But that's 4 straight games of 40 minutes or more, and 5 out of his last 6. I think that's like a legitimate sea change for Minnesota, and Rudy Gobert is just simply playing more now.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point that you brought up. I was just looking across the industry. It's like 35, 36 minutes that they're projecting him for. And like, I'm with you. I think you got to project him for like 38, 39 minutes. I mean, just look at the recent games. That's a very good point. And yeah, I mean, without Cat, I mean, those minutes, you're going to feel even better about them. So I think you might have talked me on a little bit more Gobert than I was originally thinking.
He's a lock for foul trouble now that I've done this. So just like be aware that you might want to just do this the next time Minnesota plays.
Yeah, he's gonna get put in a headlock or something. There's gonna be a brawl and there's gonna be some ejection.
He's got a 14.5 point prop and rebound prop today. What a ridiculous stat line.
That is, but yeah, wild. That is 14.
I'm very intrigued by this because I mean, maybe that's an overreaction on my part, but when I see 38 plus minutes in 6 of his last 7, that just feels like they're doing something different now with Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think you made a great point. I think the industry is under projecting his minutes, and yeah, I'm much higher on him now than I was 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I started looking at it this morning, and I was just like, am I just like, I can't be on an island. Like, I'm seeing this right. I double checked the data to just make sure like I didn't pull it in wrong or something like that. And, like, we're talking about a guy that's always been in phenomenal shape for his size. It's hard to notice that for someone that is like him, but I mean, this is a guy that will run the floor. Like, he's a huge specimen of a human being. I'm very intrigued by Rudy Gobert tonight, but watch out, everybody, because I think that I might have just talked him into aggressive foul trouble for the rest of the day.
Should we talk about quickly if Anthony Edwards gets ruled out?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, Kyle Anderson immediately looks better. I think Naz Reid then is going to play 30 minutes because they're just going to be looking for more offense. Is it TJ Warren season? Because they dusted that idiot off yesterday. I didn't know that he could play 15 minutes. I assumed he'd be out today on the back-to-back, but that doesn't appear to be the case.
Yeah, I was shocked he took the court. He's not even in the player pool from what I see, though. So
he's on FanDuel.
Okay. Yeah, not on DraftKings.
He's on FanDuel, but he's not on DraftKings. He's 3,700 on FanDuel. I can't imagine he could play enough minutes to matter. But, I mean, kudos to Minnesota if they got the TJ Warren from the bubble.
That's still one of the most wild things, the TJ Warren in the bubble thing. Like, I mean, the bubble is great, but like, I can't comprehend that happened. And then he was out for like 2 years and just was like a bench player.
So who pops if Anthony Edwards is out?
Yeah, I mean,
Walker,
NAW, I think would look great.
Yeah,
I
mean, he's going to play like 34 minutes if Edwards is out, right?
He's going to play amazing. Yeah,
you got to remember, no Monty Morris too,
right?
And potentially no Jordan McLaughlin.
Yeah, this team would be very shorthanded. I think just like all the rotation players, guards would look good. Conley, NAW, McDaniels, Slow-Mo, all look amazing. Naz Reid would have to play a lot more. He would look great. They'd probably dust off like one of those young guys at the end of the bench. Don't think I could go there, but yeah, like I said,
they would have to be in a starting lineup.
100%. But that would flip the entire slate on its head if he gets ruled out.
Yeah, wild. So keep your eyes on it. But remember, guys, the expectation is a minute or two extra for Rudy Gobert. At least it is for me. We hop on over to the Cleveland side. 15% ownership coming into Jarrett Allen, Isaac Okoro, and Darius Garland. Around 10 for George Niang and Dean Wade, and 35 to Karis LeVert. Lots to like here for Cleveland, even in a horrific matchup, because when you don't have Donovan Mitchell and you don't have Evan Mobley and you don't have Max Strus, things just look a little bit better for the rest of this team. I've got a ton of Cleveland.
Yeah, so this is a team I'm pretty high on as well. You mentioned it's not really the best matchup, but they're very shorthanded, and you should get big minutes for a lot of these main rotation players. I mentioned Jarrett Allen. I think he's going to play good minutes, probably mid to high 30s. Cleveland runs more offense through Allen when Evan Mobley's off the court. So I'm pretty high on Jarrett Allen. Again, I think he's a pretty similar play to Rudy Gobert, to be honest. And the ownership is similar as well. So that'll be a tough decision, similar price point for me at least. Because you talked me on to more Gobert. Yeah, I like Jarrett Allen a good amount. LeVert is getting a lot of ownership. I agree with it. I mean, shooting guard, small forward eligible, played 36 minutes last game. He's going to be, the secondary playmaker behind Garland. And I think you should expect 30 plus minutes from him. So he looks good. I'm unfortunately higher on Garland than the field. This guy's been frustrating. I feel like he should be doing better with Donovan Mitchell out, but he really hasn't. He only played 32 minutes in the most recent game, but was a little bit banged up in that game. I think he has upside to play mid to high 30s minutes. So I'm higher on Garland than the field is. Like I said, he's been letting me down a bit. I was just looking at fantasy rates with Mitchell and Mobley off the court this year. Jarrett Allen's 1.24 fantasy point per minute player, and Garland is 1.13, LeVert 1.04. So those are the three main guys that I like a lot. But I think you had to have some interest in these value plays too. Niang played 26 minutes in the most recent game, but did deal some foul trouble. So his ownership right now, only 6%. I'm much higher on Niang than the field is, because I think he could play 30 plus minutes. You got Dean Wade around 10%, Okoro about 15%. Those guys are reasonable, but I think for me, it's the main guys, Allen, Garland, LeVert, and then I like Niang as a contrarian value.
I have a little bit of Niang, but I have 20% or more of Okoro, Allen, Wade, Garland, and Karis LeVert. LeVert at 44%, Garland at 38. Those are the two guys that I have the most. I've been playing a ton of Darius Garland as of late. It's not going to change. 0.96 DraftKings points per minute over the last 30 days has not been the number we were looking for. But I'm going to continue to project him well north of that and to get to 2x the field of that and hope that it goes well here against Minnesota. It'll certainly look a lot better if we can get Anthony Edwards out of there too. That will be very helpful for the rest of these Cleveland guys. But I think you just gotta get here. I don't know. I don't love the amount of Dean Wade I'm getting, but 3,800 power forward center might look a little bit different now that we're freeing up that Charlotte value in a different way. Once we get that Charlotte starting lineup, maybe that'll bring my Dean Wade down. I don't have to just play scrub pay down options. But I just want to get to a bunch of this, mostly the guys that are getting a ton of minutes, and then happy to get a little bit more Niang. Kind of wish I had a little bit more Niang. I don't want to have that big of a disparity between Niang and Dean Wade. So we'll see how that shakes out. But even against Minnesota, they look good.
What's your thoughts on an unowned Sam Merrill? Last game, he shot 0 of 9, only played 18 minutes, but we have seen previous to that 25, 29, and 30 minutes. He's just one of those guys that I usually prefer to play at low ownership. If he gets hot off the bench, he could play more. I don't think I'm going to do it, but right now he's projected for sub 1%. So I think it's at least, worth taking a shot on him at that ownership.
Yeah, I mean, if the shot's falling, he's just going to get every minute they think about that would go to like George Niang or Dean Wade. He's just going to play his way into that spot. So he's kind of like the guard Paul Reed.
Yep.
Like if it's going well, like he can there's nothing that's going to stop him from being out on the floor. They don't have enough legitimate bodies to block him out if his game is going well. So I like that shout at no ownership. You get a couple threes falling. Again, he's the same situation. You get north of 30 fantasy points and you're good to go with Merrill. That could happen quite quickly if he's getting those threes up. Anything else for Cleveland?
No, I think that's it.
All righty. Guys, BetMGM is the sponsor of this show. You see the banner at the top of the screen. This one's simple. Bet $5 after you click the link and sign up and make a deposit. Bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets. It's a great deal. It comes to you in three $50 bonus bets. Your worst case scenario is that you're out $5 of your own money if you lose your original bet and the 3 bonus bet. But you pick up 1, you're probably north of $100 in your account. Pick up 2, you're probably north of $200 in your account. It's a great way to start it off. If you're in a legal sports betting state, this is the deal for you. And it's not going to be sticking around much longer. So keep your eyes peeled for what it changes to. But it's never going to be better than what you're seeing right now. I'm going to promise you that. You got to be 21 or over. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. But my recommendation, click that link in the chat or in the description. The Atlanta Hawks are 3-point favorites in Memphis, 215 total. The Hawks are somehow more interesting than they have been because Jalen Johnson is now out. We already didn't have Trae Young or Onyeka Okongwu. They kind of look like Cleveland. 20% ownership to Bruno Fernando, Clint Capella, DeAndre Hunter, and DeJounte Murray. Another 10 to Bogdan Bogdanovic, and 41 to my boy Sadiq Bey. How are you handling Atlanta against this the Memphis G League team?
Yeah, so I guess I wanted to start with DeJounte Murray. Just kind of go over his numbers. He has a 37% assist percentage right now with Trae Young and Jalen Johnson off the court. He has about 32% usage rate, and he's a 1.38 fantasy point per minute player with those two off the court. So I'm much higher on DeJounte Murray than the field is right now. I think he's going to play in a competitive game, close to 40 minutes, by high 30s you can expect. So I'm pretty high on DeJounte Murray. We talked about Bogdanovic. Again, I've lost infinite money betting on this guy, but you take Jalen Johnson off the court. If you look at like the assist numbers, like Jalen Johnson was far and away the secondary guy, behind DeJounte Murray as far as potential assists go. And I think that's going to bump up Bogdanovic's assist rate. So He should play mid-30s minutes. Again, with those two off the court, he's a 1.01 fantasy point per minute player. So the two guards, I like it, and they're not getting insane ownership. Sadiq Bey is very popular. I agree. I think he's a pretty safe play. Maybe going a little bit overowned, but again, this team is just so shorthanded. Like, they're just running out of bodies. He played 40 minutes in the most recent game. I think he's pretty safe. The two bigs, I think, is interesting for me with Capella and Fernando. The minutes haven't been amazing on Capella. Maybe with Jalen Johnson out, he could play a little bit more. But it's basically been like an even split with him and Fernando over the last couple of games. So I wonder if they continue to split it, or if, Capella gets a slight bump here. Do you think DeAndre Hunter gets the start now that Jalen Johnson's out?
Seems like the most likely scenario, but they could be weird and do like a Garrison Matthews guy just to get some shooting out there. I don't know. But it would make more sense. I would imagine Hunter thinks he should get that start too. Do you think that Capella and Bruno Fernando are splitting all 48 minutes?
I do. I with Jalen Johnson out, I do. So like I think Capella has the upside to play 28 to 30 minutes in this game. But with Hunter, the one thing to note, I saw it. I think it was last game. I saw on Twitter that the coach said that he's still on a minutes limit. So
okay,
that is something to know. I don't know if he still is now, but that was 1 or 2 games ago. I saw that on Twitter, so I just wanted to mention that. I don't really think I can get to anyone else, but yeah, this is another team like Washington that I'm very high on, and the field is as well.
Same. I've got a decent chunk of all of these guys. I'm a little bit heavier on Capella than I am Fernando right now, but we'll see what that looks like when ownership starts to change. But I just see Atlanta as a team you got to get to, especially in this matchup where Memphis does have a good defense, but it's still Memphis. So not all that scared about it. There's just so much opportunity now with no Trey and no Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, like you said, they're running very short on body. So I think a lot those main rotation players can play big minutes.
On the Memphis side, we are waiting on a Q tag on GG Jackson. We already know that Luke Kennard is out. Call it 10% ownership to Vince Williams, 15 to Jordan Goodwin, and 20 to Jaren Jackson. I've got 43. It's a standard thing for this show. Me playing a lot of Jaren Jackson, but I love him in this spot against Atlanta. 29th ranked defense, second in pace.
Yeah, so Jaren is obviously has a very high ceiling, 60, 58 fantasy points over the last couple games. I was just taking a look at some rates. He had in the most recent game, he had a 40% usage rate. You should expect big minutes from him, 35 plus, assuming he can avoid foul trouble. Now that is a big if, right? He is foul prone. So that is the one downside of Jaren Jackson Jr. But yeah, I mean, I really like his ceiling if he avoids foul trouble in this matchup against Atlanta. Jordan Goodwin, is he for sure going to be available for this game? Because I know he was inactive in the most recent game.
No idea.
Okay.
My assumption, because there's no Conchar, is that we're going to get Goodwin back in the starting line. Or sorry, because there's no Luke Kennard, that we're going to get Jordan Goodwin back in the lineup. I don't know if that's the case or not. If he is not starting, I am not projecting him to play unless I get word that he is active, because he's right up against the limit for two-way appearances. So I think they're trying to limit that right now. Don't know when they're going to break that in case of emergency, but if I don't see that he's starting, he is not someone that I'm willing to play, because I'm just not going to trust that he's out on the floor unless we get word for it.
Yeah, like whenever that was 1 or 2 slates ago, there was like questions of like whether or not he was available, and he didn't start. One beat writer said he was available. He ended up not being available. I would only play him if he starts, but if he does start, I actually think he's a pretty good play, because I think you would project him for like probably around 30 minutes. And
I have 17% of him right now.
Yeah, so I think he's an interesting one. If he starts, I think he's a good play. If he moves to the bench, I have absolutely no interest. Other options on this team, I mean, Jake LaRavia has been playing really well of late. He was second in usage in the most recent game, 27%. He played 31 minutes. I would like him a little bit more if GG Jackson doesn't play. GG currently questionable. And yeah, LaRavia right now, sub 1%. Again, I don't love the price, but he has played well. What else? I think Vince Williams, I'm kind of indifferent on him at his ownership. He should play big minutes too. But yeah, keep an eye on GG Jackson. I think some of these other wings would benefit a little bit more. You'd feel better about their minutes if he doesn't play.
Completely agree. I got nothing else here for Memphis.
Yeah, I think ready to move on.
This one can't be any easier. Orlando and New York, they are combining right now for 19% ownership. By the way, looks like Jalen Brunson is going to play. 19% combined ownership. The next lowest individual team is Philly at 32%. So this game has almost half of the ownership of the other lowest individual team. Now, we did get Jalen Suggs out for Orlando. That will change things a little bit. Markelle Fultz sitting there at 3,600, point guard only. Don't know how much he could actually play as of right now, but we are going to free up a little bit with no Suggs. We got 24 and a half minutes from Fultz on the 27th when Banchero was out. At 24 minutes, that starts to become kind of interesting, but this Orlando team looks dreadful today. This is the 27th ranked team in pace against the 30th ranked team in pace. I tend to agree with the entire field, although we did just create a little bit more value for Orlando with no Suggs.
Yeah, with Suggs out, I still don't know if it does a ton. My guess is you get Anthony Black in the starting lineup. Is that what you think too?
I don't know. I just don't know where they're out on Fultz.
Yeah, because if Markelle Fultz starts, I think he would be my favorite play in Orlando for sure. His minutes
I would lean Black, by the way.
Yeah. So keep an eye on the starting lineup, but I think if Fultz starts, I think he'd be my preferred option. The minutes have been kind of all over the place, but if he starts, I think you got to project him for 20 plus minutes. And at that price point, it would make him stand out. I think the only other guy that I have some interest in would be a close to min price Jonathan Isaac.
Yeah.
Probably plays somewhere in the neighborhood like 15 to 20 minutes. Good point per minute player. So I think he's interesting. As we mentioned, there's really not a lot of plays in the 3K range on this slate. So, Isaac, I think, is interesting, but we did get, again, Man ruled out. So we'll probably get one of, those really cheap guys in Charlotte standing out as a good value. But yeah, in general, this team looks pretty bad. This game overall looks really bad to target.
Yeah, if we get Fultz in the starting lineup, he's going to become like a 15 to 20% owned dude, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit less than that. It'll just be another good value option for you, but it's not really going to create all that much. Like Suggs being out doesn't bump Franz and Wendell Carter or Franz and Banchero in any major way. There's just not enough usage or ball handling or anything there.
Right.
And then for the Knicks, assuming Jalen Brunson is in, 5% ownership coming into Jalen Brunson right now. Nothing else to everybody else. I'm willing to get a couple shares of Brunson if he's back. I don't trust it, but I am willing to play him. Otherwise, I really don't want anything here for the Knicks. Terrible spot.
Yep, completely agree. I think Brunson's the only guy you can even play on this team. I mean, the price point's it's up on Hart and DiVincenzo from when Brunson was out. Now you got Brunson back. Obviously, McBride is now completely out of play. The big rotation has been pretty gross. They're just rotating Achua and Hartenstein and Sims. They're all playing like mid-20s minutes. Really hard to get to those guys on the slate. I think it's just, a little bit interested in Brunson because he's going to play big minutes and do everything for the team, but that's it.
I got nothing else to say about this game. It's that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing I have left to say, folks, is that you should sign up for the Sims tool right after you hit that like button. The button's there. Hit the thumbs up. Helps us out a ton. If you want to sign up for the Sims tool and get 50% off your first week of the NBA Sims Max package, use the promo code WEMBY, WEMBY. That will give you this Sims package for $30 for the week. Normally $60, you get it for $30. That's all of the data on the back end. It's the Sims tool. It's the contest generator. It's premium Discord. If you've ever been looking to get in at Stokastic, this is the easiest thing you can do. This is the way that you figure out what's going on behind the scenes at Stokastic. Come join the community. $30 for the week. Figure out how you feel about this Sims package. Get a taste of the lineup generator as well. Maybe that's the direction you want to go after that week's gone, or maybe you just pick up a dub and you're paying for that Sims package very easily moving forward. But either way, link in the description or in chat. The promo code is WEMBY, 50% off that first week of our NBA Sims Max package. We close it out with the Miami Heat. Caleb Martin is available. No Hero, no Love, no Josh Richardson. Around 10% ownership to Bam, Martin, and Jimmy Butler, with another 20 coming to Terry Rozier. What do you like here for Miami in a not very good spot against Oklahoma City?
Yeah, not really the best spot here. I think this would be a great game to watch. Maybe not necessarily for DFS. One thing to note for Miami, in their most recent game, they ran a very, very tight rotation, and you saw like a significant minutes bump for Rozier. He played almost 40 minutes. Bam Adebayo played 37. Rozier again played close to 40. Jimmy Butler played close to 40. So they ran a pretty tight rotation. I think Rozier is interesting at 6'5". I don't think you can expect 40 minutes again from him, but I think he's probably the safest guy to get to. And then, just kind of secondary plays to guys like Bam and Jimmy. I'm not going to prioritize them, but I think they're reasonable at their price points. The only other guy getting love is Martin at 4.5. Again, that's fine value, probably plays high 20s to low 30s minutes. You're not going to be excited about it, but I don't think he's going to kill you. That's basically it. I don't think there's anything else on Miami that I'm interested in.
Yeah, I'm a little light on everybody. Like 8% Bam, 9% Caleb Martin, 9% Rozier, 7% Butler. I'm getting pieces of it, but I really just don't like this spot. I took the under on Jimmy Butler's PRA earlier today. That line moved down a point, so yay me for getting there early. But yeah, like I like a couple pieces here for Miami, but there's nobody that I just want to immediately get to a bunch of.
Yeah, I think they're just kind of like secondary plays. I'm not gonna be mad if I get any of those main guys, Rozier, Jimmy, and Bam, but definitely not gonna go out of my way to play them.
So OKC, 15% ownership to Chet, 5 to Jalen Williams, 10 to Shea, limited amounts of ownership to Dort. But the best play on Oklahoma City today, and I don't think it's particularly close, it's Josh Giddey season. He's in 35% of my lineups, and I have a case to be made that he could be in like 50 to 60, depending on how you feel about it. You in for Giddey?
Yeah, I mean that's the one guy that stands out to me. I mean, it's been a rotation change over the last couple of games. Like for a good stretch of the season, he's been playing low 20s minutes. Last 2 games though, 29 and 32 minutes. If you give him similar minutes again at 5.1K, he's going to stand out as one of the best point per dollar plays on this slate. So I'm with you on that. I'm much higher in Giddey right now than the ownership. I'm not really on anyone else though, like Shea, Chet. Really bad matchup. I think there's better plays at their salaries. Jalen Williams feels priced right. I'm not going to deal with the headache of trying to take a shot on any of those bench guys for Oklahoma City. I think for me, it's really just Giddey, and that's it.
I got 36. I gave him 25 minutes, but I think you could very realistically give him 27 if you trusted, like if you wanted to be ahead of the curve, if you think these minutes are now more real. And at that point, you're just going to get a ton of Josh Giddey. But at 25, I'm still going to 2x the field or more. And I think that gives me a lot of wiggle room if he happens to just play 5 more minutes like he has in the previous 2 games. And he's a great per minute dude. Like, that's the thing. You're not getting some guy that isn't, like, it goes out there, he's 0.75. Like, he's over a fantasy point per minute guy. And, like, is it a great matchup against Miami? No, not really. But increased playing time at a fantasy point per minute, yeah, I'll take those chances at 5,100.
Like, even if you get the short end of the minutes, like low 20s or whatever, like he's not going to kill you. But if you get the game, like last game where he plays 32 minutes, like that could win you a tournament. So I think he has a pretty high floor and a high ceiling too, because I think that minutes upside is there from what we've seen recently.
Nick Batum out.
Okay, so
KJ Martin
got to feel
season,
better. What do you say?
KJ Martin season? I don't know.
Probably. I mean, I think you just got to feel better about the wings too. Like Oubre, Hield, Harris, those guys don't look a little bit better.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, Martin's 3.5. I think he could be. I think he's in play now for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like we did just create a bunch of other value in other spots, so it's not going to be anything crazy here. But we did see Martin get up to 28 minutes on February 14th, played 20 and a half in their most recent game. If you're giving him 24, so he's not a great per minute guy, call it 0.75, but he's over a 5x value if you give him 24 minutes. That's interesting enough for me. Anything else you want to touch on for OKC?
No, I think that's it.
Well, that's going to do it, folks. It is time for NBA Live Before Lock. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, sign up using the promo code Wemby. DK, let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter, DK__DFS. That's 2 underscores. You can find me on YouTube as well, just DK DFS. But yeah, it's shaping up to be a pretty interesting slate. Hope you guys have a good rest of your Friday, and hopefully all win some money. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Be safe. I won't see you again until Monday. So
unless you're watching on playback. So the only thing I can say is this: go Liverpool. Manchester United sucks. So does Manchester City. I said it wrong, but I don't care. Both of those statements are true. Get me out of here, Jordan.
Hey, it's that time of week again. Time to induct you fine people into the Stochastic Hall of Fame. Give away a bunch of Stochastic packages on top of that as well. And all you got to do to get involved, download the Stochastic profile picture at stochastic.com/avatar and tweet those wins to us at Stochastic HOF when you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Let's see what we got on tap this week. Cheesy T with a $17,000 win. Shout out to Eric Lindquist for his nuke of the night. Second place will have to do. Couldn't have done it without the tools and videos by Stochastic. I rep the OG logo. Hope you don't mind. And then Jacob Hiller. Gotta be careful with that one. The last few days have been good to me. Big shout out to Stochastic and staff for providing absolute best tool on the market, period. Up 90 grand and some change in the last 7 days. Simple to quickly and efficiently adjust to however you like to approach a GPP. Nice work, Jacob. 90 grand in a week. Tyler Mattis, thought we had first locked up, but Henley let me down. Still a great week. Shout out to Stochastic and Greg Ehrenberg, who always give great insights into the tools. $15,000 win for Tyler. And for James, a $5,000 win at Stochastic Hall of Fame. Man, a few words. Wayne started playing again the past week. I won this with the Sims tool. Do I qualify for a free month of NBA? LOL, thanks a million. Was very happy to see the Nurk ejected. Also, yes, you do qualify, my friend. And Steven with a $15,000 win on top of that. Man, huge week for the Stochastic avatars. Kilo Whiskey, little late into the Hall of Fame, but never too late. Thanks to the Stochastic tools. Thank you guys. Second place in the N1. And Ben P's back. Back-to-back top threes using FanDuel, on FanDuel using the Sims. Almost pulled off the solo dub, but tied with different lineups. 4 in the top 40 out of 71,000 entries. And how about Ben? The playback stream after lock is definitely a huge help. Thanks, guys. Ben again split both of these last night, but another great night. Third time in less than a week. Yeah, Sims Tool coming up big for Ben. Dave Oliver, thank you guys for the great breakdowns and the Sims crush again. Elway's Army's been on a massive heater lately. Unhappy Cowboys fan, don't blame you. Won 2 days before my birthday and did not post. Is it too late for the Stochastic Hall of Fame shout out? Never too late, brother. Never too late. LV finished tied first in a field of 14,000 plus and second in a field of 10K. Smaller stakes, but got it done. Rocking the logo. Can I get my free month, please? Absolutely. And Willie Jenkins, first place in the Minimax. Binked my first NBA GPP. Thanks entirely to Stochastic. We keep going. Sean Geezy back in the list. Grabbed second in the late slate 4-point play. Shout out to Stochastic for the best tools in the game. And Jay, Stochastic Sims have been on fire. All credit to the tools for taking first in this contest, helping me get the second top finish in as many weeks. It's not a coincidence that the top 3 in this contest were all repping the avatar. And Rob came fourth in a field of 5,900 NHL tournament, took first in a smaller field NHL tournament. Really appreciate what you guys do every day. Mac, need to thank Slim Cliffy and Josh for their daily guidance. We got a couple NHL ones in here and weekly entertainment on Stochastic DFS. And then Moo Poo did it again. First place, $1,000 in some MMA action, followed by BK. Shout out to Eric and Stochastic on Malik Monk. $1 into 1,500 isn't bad. That'll do it. All of your winners inducted into the Hall of Fame. Welcome back if you've been here before. Remember, all you got to do to get involved, to get a free month, any Stochastic package of your choice up to $200 is finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more at any entry point and tweet those wins to us at Stochastic HOF.
We're so Cali
I mean, it pretty much is a hot mic because we're in playback already. They could hear us.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's nothing hidden.
Do you know how to count from 5?
No, he can't. He's remedial math.
Froze. Are you all right there, Jordan?
No, he's an idiot.
I got concerned there for a second.
Moron.
What is happening, everybody? Welcome to Live Before Lock, where most of us on the show here know how to count down from 5 down to 1. Not all of us, but the majority of us.
1 of 3
isn't all that bad. So do us a favor as we come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are sponsored by BetMGM today. And Eric, we've got an interesting slate to break down. LeBron James actually out this time.
Yeah,
he's actually, it's a good thing the news came out now because I would not have been expecting it if he was still questionable at lock. So that's a big piece of news for us to be breaking down. But how are you doing today?
Doing all right. Yeah, I've been running so incredibly good in the betting and pick'em streets that something had to show up eventually that just came from the clouds. I didn't understand the total last night. 233.5, 244.5, or sorry, 234.5 was the opening number, and it kept trailing down and down, sitting at 230. And I was like, what is going on? I think LeBron's playing. I think Dame's playing. And then Dame gets ruled questionable. And now LeBron's out. And this total is going to plummet through the floor. So I am none too pleased with that result. But from a DFS perspective, it adds a nice wrinkle to tonight's slate. Again, DraftKings running not the no late swap stuff. So pretty excited about this slate. Feel a lot better about it than I did yesterday's, even though Anthony Edwards, he is that dude.
Yeah, I was happy about it because really wide range of emotions with Anthony Edwards yesterday, where it was like, I was, because he was my nuke of the night yesterday. I felt great about Anthony Edwards. He was somebody I really liked. He was a core play for me. And then he rolls his ankle. What was it? 14 seconds into the game. He goes to the locker. I'm like, oh no, I'm screwed. He comes back. It's like, all right, we're back. Then he gets hurt again, goes back to the locker. It's like, oh no, we're screwed again. Then he came back. He was limping for most of the first half. I was like, oh boy, this doesn't look great. He had like 15 fantasy points with a couple minutes left in the second quarter. It's like, all right, I guess I'm just shit out of luck for today. And then dude just turned it on in the second half, looked fantastic. I'm kind of curious what your take is because he is listed as questionable. And a lot of times you and I say, well, Anthony Edwards, when he's questionable, the dude's Wolverine. He heals really quick. We saw it yesterday. He took a couple of really hard falls yesterday, including the game-winning block. I would not be shocked if he ends up sitting today because he took an absolute beating yesterday. But what's your take on it?
Yeah, so he turns his ankle, and it's always the worst the day after. Anybody who's ever turned their ankle, it's not that day. Like you get home at night and you're walking around your house and you can kind of get by, and then you wake up in the morning and you got a grapefruit in your foot, and it's just absurd. Now, he's in the NBA. He's going to get all the medical, attention that he needs and could probably end up playing, but like, do you really push him out here? The fall on his side too was really, really freaky. I mean, the block at the end of the game, the fall you had was a little bit freaky. I mean, the guy was putting his body out on the line for just about every play. We needed them to be able to win. I say we because I'm a Minnesota fan, but it was one of those performances you'll never forget. Give the guy a night off now because obviously this is a tough road spot. We would very much like him to be there. We're sitting with a pretty neutral line as a result, but like, I'm with you where it would not shock me if in the next 50 minutes we found out he wasn't playing just because they like strapped him in a chair and said, guess what? You're not going on the floor tonight because we can't deal with this night in, night out.
It's tail end of the back-to-back. It's on the road in Cleveland. If you had to guess right now, which you kind of have to because I'm about to make you guess, Edwards in or out today?
I think he plays because he's Anthony Edwards. I mean, this guy has played through so many things that like, again, he like limped to the locker room multiple times yesterday, still came out and was by far the best player on the floor, by far. And it's just absurd that this happens as many times as it does with him. But I'd say like 60-40 he plays. Just if it were anybody other than Ant and you watch those two plays where he got dinged up, the ankle turn and then falling on his back, you would think there's not a chance in hell. But like, because it's Ant, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But obviously it would not shock me at all if he sat out.
And as far as key players that are questionable, we've got Edwards who's questionable. Gigi Jackson is questionable. It kind of matters just because the Memphis Grizzlies are just perpetually a shorthanded team that is banged up. For the late slate, there's, like LeBron's already been ruled out. Damian Lillard's questionable, but not on the main slate. So we don't have to worry about it too much for the purposes of this show. But we also have Gigi Jackson, who's listed as questionable. Jordan McLaughlin is questionable. And I guess McLaughlin kind of matters if Edwards is out, because he's somebody who, if he's also out, then you have to figure like, oh, okay, where are the backup guard minutes going in Minnesota? But Gigi Jackson, him being questionable, is that something you think will change your lineup significantly in any kind of way if he's out?
Yeah, I mean, because it's only the 6 games on DK, pretty much every piece of news matters to some extent. We have kind of another sprint slate. It's an hour. We're not going to be by our computer very long here on Friday if you're just playing the main slate like me. I thought I would have some late slate exposure. I already have that total, and it feels like kind of a lost cause at this point in time. But yeah, I would say that pretty much everything, when you look at like the go to utility in DraftKings and just look at all the guys that are out for Memphis over the course of this season, and it's just a train wreck. So obviously that's a big piece of news, because then you're opening up more minutes for a Conchar. You're opening more minutes for Laravia, who played really well the other night, and somebody that got some pretty extensive run, sitting at 29, 32 minutes the last 2, has performed rather well. That would definitely be a piece of news, considering Atlanta second in pace, 19th in adjusted defensive rate. I mean, this is a team over the last month that you want to attack. No Jalen Johnson out there as well, so should be a competitive spot.
And by the way, for people who are asking about the site, it is going to be up in like a minute or 2.
Yep.
Just some updates are being run, and should be good to go very shortly here. So some information for you guys there. And any of these super chats, Jordan, were they answered on the last show, or
not
no?
a chance in hell? 0.
There we go. That was the safest bet of the night. Eric's hot streak continues in the betting market. Eric,
minus 10,000, just jamming it. I'm going to become a tout that, just jams let's do a ladder challenge with a couple of minus 10,000 legs. Jordan Klein to hit a bong tonight, minus 10,000. There it is.
There we go.
Slam your body down and wind it all around, Spice Girls style.
First question we have here is from Gil O'Brien. Gil wants to know, who is the best stack with an exotic one-off?
Oh, see, okay. This is like the day that I feared was when we took the exotic play, and I had to like think about things in a context that wasn't just like, give me the blatant play of the day. Because now we're getting like specific with something that is implied that it's just like Eric's only going to roster white boys who can't play basketball. Like that's what I'm going to do. Like that's the exotic play of the night at this point. I'm bringing up guys like Luka Samanic because you make me.
I don't think, first of all, today you said Luka Samanic. Oh my God, let this run for a second. Let it really sink in. Let's just take it in. You need to build up to this. I mean, I don't know how you're saying that you had to go Luka Samanic. Look at all the guys we've got on the league. We've got Chet Holmgren in the league. Luka Doncic. We've got Nikola Jokic. You're not forced to play Luka Samanic. There's so many guys for you to choose from. Like the entire, I assume half of these guys on Memphis are viable exotics. Is that a slur if I call them exotics? Are you more upset? Can I have to be honest, I'm more upset that somebody asked us about stacking in NBA.
The most viewed tweet we've had on Odd Shopper in 2.5 years, 2.5 years of Odd Shopper, is me as fucking Steve Irwin getting trolled by Nolan Kelly. 130 likes. Get fucked, everybody. I hate it here sometimes.
So is your issue that you would have preferred that it was you edited as Joe Exotic? I could understand why that would be upsetting.
Yeah. It's upsetting, Greg.
It really should have been you as Joe Exotic instead of Steve Irwin. This would really be much better, would it not?
You know what's ironic is like I'm legitimately up like 30 plus units in 3 weeks. I've hit 7 straight prize picks cards. I'm trying to innovate. I'm trying to do everything I possibly can. And yet I get on this show and you just take me down to such basic bitch status immediately. And Jordan Klein just sits there in his little chair like he's mini me and just laughs. You know why
who else laughs?
Do I do this to myself? Go ahead. What?
There are how many people watching right now?
A lot.
2,500 people. they're hitting the like button, about 416 right now. More of them should be hitting the like button because they're also people who are enjoying this content, Eric. But now we have to also
break down
go
basketball
ahead and try to figure out. I honestly don't like the question of best stack on the slate at all.
Yeah, it's not a question I think about.
It's not something you should be considering for NBA. There's unique cases where it's just like, hey, this game is a ton of value. We're getting a lot of exposure to it, but I'm not building my line. I'm just trying to jam stacks in any kind of way like that. So I guess we're going to have to forego that part of the question. So all that's left is, Eric, who's your favorite exotic play of the night?
Why is this happening to me? It's probably Misic if the slate started this second.
He's so popular. But like, I mean, it's also very funny that Micic is the most, he's like 60% owned. So it's hard to not say him as being the guy. He's the most popular player on the entire slate. We've got a handful of them, actually. Like Denny Avdia is really popular. Corey Kispert's really popular. There's a bunch of them in here. Lots of ownership.
Yep. Happy Friday, everybody.
Relative to ownership, what are you going to do with Micic?
I have no idea yet. It depends. I mean, we'll get Ant news hopefully while we're on this show. That's going to be massive. I mean, it's going to be absolutely gigantic because then you're talking about not getting added to the slate in a very prominent way. You're adding, you know, an opportunity for Kyle Anderson to maybe actually perform and not be a dunce cap. You get a really weird potential situation considering Morris is out. We got McLaughlin. I will remember you questionable. So like there's a lot of weird stuff with Minnesota that's still waiting in the wings. So I will say right now, if the slate started, I would just be jamming him, it would appear. And then in the event that we got the Anthony Edwards news and he's out, I'll assess from there.
Makes sense. Let's look at the next question. I'm going to go with Micic as my answer, although I do suspect I'm going to be underweight to him once I'll rerun everything for the Sims here, get everything run through. By the way, site is back up and running now.
Let's go.
Starting to get the process running on updating all of my stuff. Phil Senzig, who puts it in the basket? Eric, who's the lotion play of the night? Who's a bucket getter you're liking for this slate?
The lotion goes on the skin. It's going to be No. Yeah, if he plays Anthony Edwards.
I don't mind the Edwards call out. Let me think for me. Bucket getter on the slate. Boy, I've got an uncomfortable one to answer. I'm afraid to give him as the one. Yeah, not going to go there. All right, I'm going to answer Terry Rozier. We're finally starting to see the minutes for Terry Rozier in Miami. And not only that, we're also starting to see some of the production. It certainly helped at the amount of injuries that we've seen out of the Miami Heat and Tyler Hero being out. But it's clear that he's found a more defined role within this team. He's no longer like the fourth wheel behind Hero, behind Butler, behind Bam Adebayo. So give me Terry Rozier. And there are metrics we could look at with Rozier beyond just the fact that he played really well last game. There's other things you could look at in terms of his playing time. 39 minutes last game, and the games for like 32, 33 minutes. He was just not getting this playing time when he first came to Miami. And also the usage, 22%, 29%, 18%, 29%, 28%, 30%. These are things where, he's not going to shoot like 60% from the field or whatever the number ended up being last game, but it appears we can count on the minutes being pretty high for him, as well as the usage being there. So give me Terry Rozier as the lotion play, Eric.
Very much here for it. I mean, that is a game environment. It's weird. I mean, just on the 6-game DraftKings slate, like for me, I really like it above the field. I'm getting to a lot of Chet yet again. We'll save. Do I want to save it? Yeah, I'm probably going to save. We got 10 minutes till the nuke of the night. I'm going to save it here, but it comes from Miami OKC as well.
Ooh, I'm going to guess Chet Holmgren.
It isn't.
Okay.
I said Chet's name pretty freely, so.
All right. I'll leave it out of that then. We've got, let me check Discord to make sure there aren't any questions in there that we missed that came in. And we've got a couple questions in here, and then we'll hit on the normal question from our guy, East of Spade. But first, I can't. Kenny Wayne asked us to the exotic play of the night. I'm not going to do it to you. I'm not going to.
We
We're
already
not going to
did
do
it
again.
We already did it.
Yeah, already did it. I don't want to run Eric totally into the ground. We can't do the exotic. It would be hilarious if we just did the exotic play tonight like 12 times in the individual show. But maybe that'll be something for when the exotic players are really going to come into play, the last slate of the season, when it's 14 games and it's all backups playing on 10-day contracts. But Strixine 71, tell me your thoughts on Brandon Miller. Is Brandon Miller somebody who you are liking for this slate?
Not really. I thought I would end up getting to some of him, considering it's Washington. This is just a massive spot. I'm below the field right now. 25% was the number. I'm sitting right around 10. And I know he's got the shooting guard, small forward, but everybody got a price hike. It was like DraftKings looked ahead, actually looked at the matchup for once and said, you know what, we're going to hike the salaries of some of these main guys. So Bridges got a little bit of a price hike. So did Miller. Misic's still 5,300 with a different circumstance. So with Trey Mann, now out, that's an opportunity for him to just walk into tons of opportunity. But like Brandon Miller for me, 23.7% usage on the season. It had been trailing up, but like, I feel as though at 7K, he's just kind of getting left by the wayside because I like some of the punts that we're going to be getting to. I like paying up for some contrarian pieces. I think that for me, I'm going to be staying away primarily.
You know what the next super chat we got is?
I mean, we're going to have to change the rounders bit. It's like you can beat up a sheep many times, but kill him only once. That's me on this show.
Boy, you really don't want to talk about DK tiers that badly?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do want to talk about DK tiers. You set that up in such an ominous fashion.
I try to set you up.
You
Ace of Spades wants to know top options for DK tiers. Number one from OKC, SGA.
That is my dude tonight.
What do you have in tier 2? Tier 2 is super, super tight today. You got 4 guys in this tier, and they're all projected within a couple of fantasy points of each other. Which way do you like going?
Your nemesis, Jimmy Butler.
I'm going to go with Miles Bridges, who's a nemesis of, kind of everybody, but Miles Bridges in tier 2.
Don't go there. Don't go there. I knew where your brain went for a second.
Even I was like, you know what? Nemesis of everybody. Of everybody.
He's a nuisance. Don't go to South Central without drinking juice in the hood or whatever.
Triple J for you in tier 3 as well?
Triple J.
Tier 4?
Gobert.
I'm going to say Kuzma for now.
But
if Anthony Edwards is out, it's going to be Gobert in tier 4. Although this is also worth another discussion point because Anthony Edwards, if he sits, Karl-Anthony Towns is also going to be out. Who would be the go-to guy for usage on this team? Because Gobert, sure, like they might be able to get him the ball some more, but it's not like you could run the offense through Gobert. Who's the player you would expect to lead the Wolves in usage if Edwards doesn't play tonight?
See, I mean, this is like the question of the night, if you ask me. I think this slate is so interesting in the event that you get Ant actually ruled out. Like I'm as a Minnesota fan, I obviously don't want to see it. Talked about liking him and making him the lotion play in the event that he ends up being in. But I'm kind of in love with the idea of Nickeil Alexander-Walker if that ends up being a late piece. I don't think he ends up leading it in usage. I mean, it's going to be very, very close. But we've seen Kyle Anderson go up north of 20% usage with both Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards off the floor. That's 15.5% under other circumstances. And people really don't want to play him coming off of yesterday. So there is a part of me that just would jam Kyle Anderson, knowing that like there would be a very prominent opportunity for him. I bet Naz Reid ends up being the guy who would actually lead us in usage, but the minutes, I don't see him going from like 27 to 34 minutes or something of that nature. So I think out of the main guys, I mean, it would be close for me between Mike Conley and Kyle Anderson. I would probably lean Kyle Anderson though.
By the way, we just found out that Gigi Jackson unlikely to play today. So that is some information that we are now prepared with. And I've got the stats pulled up, the on-off court numbers. And boy, the fantasy production is just shitty in Minnesota. When you take Edwards and Towns off the court.
Very small samples, though.
Of the players who have an amount of minutes that actually matter, Rudy Gobert leads the team in fantasy production. It's 1.08 DraftKings points per minute. And it is 1.12 FanDuel points per minute. So that's not particularly all that great. But let me go and look at some of the usage now. What do these numbers look like?
The Kyle Anderson one really stood out to me. Again, I did this work this morning and was working on my videos and stuff and felt as though I was pretty comfortable saying The Kyle Anderson thing definitely had some room to grow. Again, north of 20% usage. He's got 15.5% under all other circumstances. So for me, taking Karl Anthony Towns off the floor, like taking both of them off, I feel as though Kyle Anderson gets really underrepresented today.
Yeah, so the full Jenkins expects Luke Kennard and Gigi Jackson to be out tonight. He expects Wenyen Gabriel to get minutes for the Grizzlies.
That sounds awful. But yeah, Nas 25% usage. Again, I think he would lead us in usage, but does he get that spike in playing time? I'm not really sure. Kyle Anderson, 21% usage. Then Shake Milton's out. I mean, he's off to the Shadow Realm. You've got what else going on here? I mean, it's just disturbing. 17.1% usage in 218 minutes for Nah. Jaden McDaniel sitting at 16.3. It's kind of unaffected. You know what the real wild card of this entire thing is? Probably TJ Warren. Like, does TJ Warren come out and just decide, you know what? I'm going to chuck nonstop and really ruin everybody's life because I'm not in the player pool?
It would be funny.
It would be actually. I will change my vote. Will be TJ Warren leads the team in usage in the event that Ant is out.
It actually wouldn't be funny. It would just be irrelevant. It wouldn't matter.
I know, but it wouldn't matter for our purposes. But it would be funny because like that's very live to happen.
For sure, it is because I mean I'm looking at the usage rates, which I know you already read off, and it's like if Kyle Anderson is second in the team in usage with Edwards and Towns off the court. It's, you know, like you said, it's where else does it go? And it's not even that. It's really just split usage because it's Naz Reid at 25%, like you had said, Kyle Anderson at 21%. It's not like there's one guy who all of a sudden becomes a 28% usage. It's just everybody's like, it's the flattest usage I've ever seen. It's just like the entire starting five would be projected around 20%.
But also it's a sample size issue too, where, you know, there's both of them off the floor is a very rare happenstance. You know, you'll get Gobert off the floor independent of Cat for the 8 minutes that you kind of get a game when everybody's healthy. You'll get the independent 6 minutes of Ant aside from Gobert and Cat in those kind of situations. But now you're running into a spot where all of them, or the two main guys, would be off the floor. We just don't see it very often in Minnesota. So again, everything's right around 300 or lower minute sample sizes. So you don't want to read crazy into it. But again, I do think Nas would be the main guy that you would have to say would be the leader in the clubhouse, the like minus 150 guy to lead our team in usage. And then Kyle Anderson, weirdly for me, would be second, not counting TJ Warren because he's not in the player pool for DK.
Let's see what else. Oh, we have the rest of the tiers to talk about. So I want to do a deep dive there into the situation with the Timberwolves. But let's go to tier 5 now. Tier 5, that is going to be Chet for me.
I love it. 5. Yeah, Chet, my boy.
All right. And then tier 6, I got to go Terry Rozier, who I talked about before.
Love it. I love that game a lot more than most people do. It's weird to see a Miami game with this kind of a total as well. I mean, Miami's been playing a little bit more up in pace lately. Not by like some leaps and bounds, but for them to not be bottom 15 is usually a plus. If they're in the top half of the league over any stretch or any sample size, that's a plus. And like going to more Jovic, Jaime Jaquez, like these are good things. Duncan Robinson, never known for his defense either, and playing a gob of minutes. So these are good things. I love the Terry Rozier call out for today.
Do you want to do a question or two more? Are you ready for the nuke of the night? I know.
Let's do questions. Questions. No. Nuke can wait. I know where we're going.
So we won't do the nuke yet. One thing I do want to tell you guys, this is the final day to take advantage of the Wemby promo. It is going away tonight. So if you guys have not taken advantage of the Wemby promo, here's what it is. You sign up for our Sims tool with the link that we have below, promo code Wemby. It's already loaded into that link, so you don't have to go to the site and type it in. You can just click on the link below in YouTube. It's going to bring you right to the site with the promo code already loaded in. But if you do need to type it in, it's Wemby, W-E-M-B-Y, all capital letters. It is going to get you 50% off your first payment on the first week of the Stochastic NBA Sims Max tool. So this is something that's helped me be super, super profitable this year. I've won a handful of tournaments. Eric's also won tournaments this year. It's been awesome. It's been a great addition to my process, and we want you guys to be able to test it out before the season ends here. So 1 week, you're going to get 50% off. Sign up with that link that we have below. I promise you guys are going to really like it. It's going to help you immensely in your process. It also gets you access to our Discord channel. You can ask myself and Eric questions throughout the show. So another little nice added benefit there. Let's get to the next super chat. Is from Phil Senzig, and it is Electric Eric and Goofy Greg's Bozu boost of the night. So who's one player that would be most apt to boost in the Sims tool?
See, I like these questions. These are PG. They have great purpose. I really like it.
The questions are actually nothing. I spin the question into being whatever I want it to be. The questions a lot. By the way, I love the questions as well, but I never know. I hope I answer the questions as you guys want me to, because I don't really know what like the Bozo, Greg's Gonzo Bozo boost and the Electric Eric boost of the Knights are supposed to be. So doing my best to interpret it. But this is how I'm doing it. Player who we want to boost in the Sims tonight.
For me, the main guy that I've been boosting the most is John Conchar.
Okay. For me, it is going to be Mike Conley tonight. You just look at the outlook of the Minnesota Timberwolves in a spot where what happens if Edwards doesn't play? We don't find that news out until after lock. I know that the data doesn't suggest that there's like a massive usage boost or anything like that for Mike Conley. But to the point you had made before, Eric, there's a little bit of a sample size issue. He's played 210 minutes with Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards off the court this year. But logically, he's going to have the ball in his hands. Somebody has to shoot the ball for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Conley is one of their best available players in that kind of scenario. So Mike Conley is somebody who I would want to have more exposure to, kind of like preloaded in the event that Ant doesn't play.
Love that call out.
Next super chat is from RADM. He said, some days back, you guys said that Russell's assists average 10 when LeBron is out. I don't ever recall saying that. Maybe though. I could look at the numbers right now with LeBron off the court. But he said that the 6.5 line is off. LeBron ended up playing not. Okay, so it's 6.5. Here's the summary of the question.
Okay.
D'Angelo Russell's assist line is 6.5. Do you like the over on it?
Yes.
Let me look at the assist rate here.
He has 5.5 on DK Pick 6. I have that everywhere.
Ooh, all right. So a little Pick 6 shout out. If you guys want to get in over there, you can play over 5.5 for D'Angelo Russell. Yeah, I think over 6.5 with LeBron out is a pretty reasonable way to play D'Angelo Russell and take some advantage of the value with the absence of LeBron James tonight. All right. Nuke of the nighttime now, Eric. I need to know who it is you want to play from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oh, I really hope it's somebody who's exotic. Jordan, play the animation. It's time for Nuke of the Night. It's also a good excuse for me to click some buttons on my computer and run the Sims game.
That's super fair.
There we go. Nuke of the nighttime, Eric. Who is it that you're looking at today? Who's somebody in large field tournaments that's going to set your lineups apart? Or maybe it's just a chalk play you think is under-owned that you're going to be jamming today. Who is the Nuke of the night?
So I was a little bit torn. Now, one of the major things about this slate that is very, very important to me as far as like where my nuke is going is that Misic has shooting guard eligibility, point guard, shooting guard. I am not going to be playing him at point guard because I think there are two phenomenal plays up top. One is Jalen Brunson, who I'm not going to call the nuke of the night, mainly because, yes, we have him in for 37 minutes, and Thibodeau has no regard for human capacity, but Orlando is the matchup there. And obviously, OKC Miami, it's not like this is a phenomenal matchup for this guy, but you look at SGA on today's slate, and I constantly just go back to the fact that, like, this is SGA in a competitive game environment. They are 8-point favorites for a reason. And the only way that they cover and just smash 8 and it gets to a blowout is SGA completely goes nuclear. They just faced Portland. He kind of was able to take a backseat. If you watch that game, he was kind of easing his way through it. The Los Angeles Lakers spot, that was kind of a down spot. Didn't shoot the ball particularly well. It was a back-to-back coming out of a Phoenix spot where he completely smashed. I'm going to write off a little bit of what we've seen recently for him. He is 10% owned on today's slate, a 6-game slate where I can get the best player on the slate, potential MVP candidate here in SGA at 10% ownership. He's a 1.56 fantasy point per minute producer, and I'm not really going to change his baseline that much here for Miami, considering the guy on the other side of him now is Terry Rozier. Yeah, you have Jimmy Butler. Yeah, you have Mr. Bam Adebayo, but they've been playing a little bit more up in pace. Defensively haven't been as strong. And OKC at home here, this could be an absolute smash spot where the only guy who goes for 60 plus on the entire slate is SGA. I'm going to be overweight to that. Give me the raw points on a slate where there's decent enough value here at the moment. Was torn between him and Brunson considering their ownership, but I'll take the more sure thing for me. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, your nuke of the night.
All right. By the way, the chat over in playback was very upset because they thought you were going to go with Josh Giddey, and then he kind of
come on
from them.
Well, here's the thing. I had a ton of Giddey. I had a ton of Chet. I had a ton of Jalen Williams the other night in the $4. Finished top 40. I'm just saying, it was one of those where I almost had Giddey take me to the top there, but no, I will not be overweight on Giddey, although has closed the last two, been closing a little bit more lately. So that's a plus because they've gone to Kenrich Williams and Andrew Wiggins and gotten different at times here. So his minutes might be trending up.
All right, so I just finished a sim run, which is good because now I can look over here at some of the data and information and figure out where I want to go.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Did you see the starting lineup of Grant Williams?
No, the Wizards. The Wizards. Look at the Wizards.
I just saw a bunch of starting lineups come in.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Wizards are starting.
Hi, Joey Corman. Hello.
Oh, my God. New nuke of the night, Rashawn Holmes. Starting whatever I was going to say, doesn't even matter. New nuke of the night, Rashawn Holmes. He's starting at center for the Wizards. He's extremely cheap. He's a good fantasy producer. And we've seen this from Rashawn Holmes at every single stop of his career. The minutes, hard to predict. When the teams are going to play him. Are they going to play him in garbage time? Occasionally, as Joey Corman could attest to. You never know exactly what his minutes are going to look like. But when he's starting, you can feel pretty confident he's going to get minutes. He's going to start on the court for the game there. He's one of the best value plays on the slate now. We're locking in 23 minutes. I was looking at my lineup, so I was trying to figure out, all right, who am I overweight to? But yeah, now that we know that Rashawn Holmes is starting, I'm about to be loading up on him, as is Eric, as he's immediately rerunning the Sims.
Oh, did my camera go out?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no, I had to just panic. I just panicked. Don't mind me.
Yeah, just oh my God, Rashawn Holmes, turn the camera off. It's the only way to react to that news.
Well, all I know is that if Joey Corman is watching, your life, your happiness has gone downhill as a result of you not getting a date with my wife's good friend as a result of Rashawn Holmes deciding to play some serious basketball. Yes, friends, that is a true story.
Let's answer some more of these super chats while the data updates. First, Ryan Burt wants to know cash locks. Rashawn Holmes is one now.
Yep, sure is.
In cash games, you want to play Micic in cash. You want to play Sadiq Bey in cash. Let's see. Who else is
playing Micic? You're playing Holmes. You're playing Holmes in cash.
There aren't that many. I would say Micic, Bey, and Holmes are the cash game locks. There aren't that many.
Jordan
guys
Poole's a
where,
cash
like,
game
you
lock,
have to
probably.
play in cash.
Poole's probably a cash game lock. I mean, we're seeing massive minutes now off the bench, and he's been playing better. I don't know what it is off the bench, but 32 minutes of him at 6K against Charlotte, that's probably going to be in my cash game if I were playing cash games. Yeah, there's not like a lot of massive Hulk Smith. Jaren Jackson Jr. would probably be up there too. I mean, we haven't talked about a lot of this. I mean, Clint Capella is probably your other center in addition to Holmes. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, I just, those guys, like if you had Jaren Jackson in a cash game, I think he's a good option. I wouldn't call him a lock though. I don't say like you have to play him in cash games. That's why for locks, I'm just going to say Micic, Bey, and Rashawn Holmes now.
Good call.
Thomas Ryan, favorite plays for DraftKings at each position. And thanks. All right, let's start.
Center, Rashawn Holmes.
Yeah, center, Rashawn Holmes. We can work backwards. So
yeah,
center is going to be Rashawn Holmes.
Jaren Jackson Jr. power forward.
I am going to go with
Grant Williams is the other one.
I'm going to say Sadiq Bey at power forward.
It's fine.
Small forward.
Sadiq Bey for me.
Karis LeVert.
Okay.
Shooting guard.
Micic.
Yep. Micic over at shooting guard.
And it is SGA by a mile for me now that I got Holmes. I'm just going to unlock all the SGA and all the land.
Yeah, so for me, I was going to say Rozier at point guard. He's somebody I like being overweight to, but I'm not exactly sure how Rashawn Holmes being in the mix is going to alter what my lineups look like now, because you bring up a good point there, Eric. It's going to be easier to get to spend up guys, and I had very balanced looking lineups until just now. It's probably going to change.
Sure is. And again, I think cash, the entire build was pretty balanced, and now, well, you've got a guy that's just, I gotta assume, I'm just pulling up everything here for all of his rates. I mean, 3,700 starting center. You're just jamming him here. This is just nonsensical. I don't know how. I mean, I forgot to read the rest of the lineup here because I'm assuming that Kispert is the guy who is the odd man out. Jones, Koulibaly, Avdia, Kuzma, Holmes. Yeah, so that sucks. That sucks.
Yeah, so that also is going to make him look quite a bit less good now because he's coming off the bench. We probably have to project him for, 4 or 5 less minutes.
Well, and he comes in with Poole, which
appealing.
sucks. Like, he has to come in with Poole, and
True.
like, that's a disaster.
Yeah, Jones, Koulibaly, Avdia, Kuzma, Holmes is that lineup. We got some weird starting lineups that came in before the slate locked. We also got the front court for the Hornets, which is going to be Grant Williams and Nick Richards starting together. So a lot of weirdness there. John Bryant also asked us who our favorite players are at each position on DraftKings. So same question there a couple times. Then Ryan Andriotti wants to know best values on the slate, and then also who we like for DK tier. So first for best values, I mean,
Holmes and Message.
Sure, Rashawn Holmes now.
Yep, and Message.
Yeah. I'm trying to think anybody else, and I'll throw Sadiq Bey into the mix. I know he's a little bit more expensive, but still, even him at $5,700, really good value. As for what we went with in DK tiers, tier 1 was SGA for both of us. I'll see if I can remember all of our picks. Tier 1, we both went with SGA. Tier 2, I went with Miles Bridges. You went with Jimmy Butler. Tier 3, we both went with Jaren Jackson Jr. Tier 4, I went Kyle Kuzma. You went Rudy Gobert. Tier 5, I went Chet Holmgren, and you went Chet Holmgren as well. Tier 6, I went Terry Rozier, and you went Terry Rozier as well.
I did.
So those were what we had for tiers. Did I misrepresent you at all, or did I remember that correctly?
You absolutely crushed it. I'm so proud of you. It's so nice to see you be nice to me for once.
And I proved I listen. I'm a good listener, and I recall things you said because I value your opinion.
There's times where I'll say something and then you come in and you're just like, well, also I'll be like, yeah, his usage rate goes up to like 18.6%. Then you'll be in like, but did you notice that his usage rate goes up to 18.6%? I'm like, oh my God, here we are. But here's the thing. Hosting is way harder than being the analyst on these shows. So you get the benefit of the doubt.
Well, you got to let people know about stuff like when you sign up at BetMGM, we use the link we have below and you place a $5 bet. You get $150 in bonus bets. These are things you don't have to do from your side of the chair, but I have to do over here. I also have to let people know that if they live in North Carolina and they pre-register for BetMGM using the link we have below, they're going to get $200 in bonus bets just for making an account through our link. So, there's things you have to consider when you're hosting the show, as well as trying to build out a gazillion lineups here. So if you're anybody who has a gambling problem, do call or text the number 1-800-GAMBLER. Jacob Dunn says, best one, Brooke Lopez over 16.5 PRA. Jalen Brunson over 28.5 points, or McDaniels over 3.5 rebounds. I'm going to go McDaniels over 3.5 rebounds.
I'm with you.
Pierre, happy Friday. Best FanDuel plays at each position. All right, so let's go look at FanDuel. I'm also rerunning everything now for the most recent news that we got. Starting with point guard. All right, so at point guard for me on FanDuel, that is going to be Micic, because I want to use DeJounte Murray. Do you have FanDuel lineups built out? Same. If not,
I did not. Nope, go ahead. I'm not playing FanDuel today.
So point guard, that is going to be Micic for me, so that I could say DeJounte Murray at shooting guard. Small forward, Miles Bridges. Power forward, that is going to be Jaren Jackson Jr. And at center, that is currently Clint Capella, because Rashawn Holmes is $4,700 over on FanDuel. So he is way different looking over on FanDuel. On FanDuel, Clint Capella and Rashawn Holmes have like pretty similar price points. So Clint Capella at center on FanDuel. Rashawn Holmes still a good option, but prefer Capella a little bit there. Barry Deering, Miles Bridges, or Jaren Jackson Jr. Triple J for me.
Triple J.
Now let's get back into some of the Discord questions, where Flying Filipino says that he's getting to a lot of Karis LeVert. Do we like him? Yeah, I like Karis LeVert.
Yes, we do.
Stokes, who is the best pay-up option to load up on tonight if there is one?
SGA by leaps and bounds. You have access to him. I had a ton before. I'm a little bit bummed. I bet he ends up around 20% now.
Are you going to be getting to more of him because of the Rashawn Holmes news now? Or is it just like you were already forcing yourself to him and now it's just kind of easier?
See, it depends, because what's going to happen is that people have more access to get to 10K plus spend up on a slate where there aren't a lot of them. There are 0 of them outside of him. So it's a bummer, but I think I'm still going to land there. Again, I'm rerunning my stuff here as we speak. Obviously, my one camera went out, and so we are on other camera. I am pretty positive that I'm going to end up with more than, again, he was around 10%. I had 25. I bet I get a little bit more, but his ownership's definitely going to come up. So I'm not getting the leverage I was before.
Yeah, we'll see what the updated ownership ends up looking like there on SGA. And the next question that we have here, it is a super chat from Daniel Buffington. This is an interesting one. A 1v1 on DraftKings, Karis LeVert or Jordan Poole. Between the two of them, which do you prefer? And also, does Richaun Holmes starting impact how you view Jordan Poole at all on the slate?
So no. I mean, we obviously knew Bagley wasn't going to play, so I don't know why it wasn't Kispert. I guess it doesn't surprise me all that much that they want to have a true center on the other side of Richards, but I would say it's surprising that, it ends up being Richaun Holmes ever at this stage of his career, but Jordan Poole is pretty unaffected. He's going to come in with Corey Kispert. So I'm running some stuff here where Corey Kispert, he's at a 20.5% usage this season. Jordan Poole at 26%. But we've seen Jordan Poole come out and just flamethrow. This definitely affects Corey Kispert way more than it affects Jordan Poole. So I'm not really going to be diminishing anything with his rates. It's going to be me taking Corey Kispert down a peg, and minutes wise, obviously.
And just that I wasn't sure. So was LeVert or Poole the answer for you?
It's going to be Poole. I like Poole more.
All right. I am going to lean a little bit towards Karis LeVert. I like both of them, though. I think both of them are strong options. But Karis LeVert, slightly for me. Next question here is coming to us from Scripps in our Discord channel. He wants to know, would we play Bruno Fernando and Clint Capella in the same lineup tonight?
No.
Not intentionally. If it shows up in a lineup or two and I'm running everything through the Sims, it wouldn't be the end of the world, right? It's not something like I'd be like, oh no, I got them in the same lineup. I have to adjust and redo everything. Like nothing along those lines. But no, if you're playing one lineup, I wouldn't have them together.
I wouldn't do it. And also, I didn't care back when he was like 3,400 or the flat 3K when he had just started to starting to get built up. That is Bruno Fernando. But now that he's 4,400, I just wouldn't want him and Capella in the same lineups.
So here's the other issue, though, is that likely means that you're not getting yourself to Richaun Holmes.
Which would be silly, yes.
Yeah. So that to me is what the biggest issue is in that kind of equation. So, me playing 150 lineups, running it through the Sims, I can't guarantee I won't have any lineups that don't have them together, but if I just had if I was playing one lineup, I wouldn't be rostering them in the same one. Lucky wants to know, are we boosting anybody now? Now that we've gotten some updated news, has this changed the players that you're looking to boost in the Sims tool, Eric?
Anthony Edwards, by far.
Ooh, I like that. So I'm going to assume your logic is we have a extra value that's come in. We have a lack of people to pay up for. And that's where we can maybe get to Edwards at slightly lower ownership than the other.
Correct.
I could dig it.
That was the first thing I did. I didn't have to change a lot in terms of rates. So the Corey Kispert thing, he was a piece of value I was getting to, who is now kind of getting removed. And now we're inserting a $3,700 piece. So I'm getting more SGA, but the guy who I'm really going in and boosting, because I just ran it unencumbered, I got 12% Edwards. I think what's happening is it's just the uncertainty of the whole situation. And then the fact that I have SGA projected out, I think better than the industry does at the moment. I'm getting more of him, and it's kind of taking away from Ant. But the Eternal Q tag, we are now 11 minutes before lock, and we still don't know if he's playing or not. I think this is a perfect opportunity to boost Ant and live with the result. Like, if it ends up not coming to fruition, you'll be able to move that salary a little bit around later. But right now, you need to get Holmes, you need to get Misic, and then you kind of live with other pieces. Like, you're still going to get to Bridges, you're still going to get to Jackson, but like, get yourself more Anthony Edwards.
Does us not having Edwards news make you more or less confident that he's going to play today?
Makes me not care, because I've seen Minnesota do it both ways. Obviously, this is the team I'm the most linked into. So in the back of my head, I'm like, there's times that Ant gets ruled out 10, 15 minutes before lock. It happened before an LA game last year that I was attending, of course. And then what was the other one? We've generally gotten Ant news a lot earlier at times, or Cat news earlier. It doesn't seem like Minnesota's ever trying to like hold their cards back. So I would actually lean towards, as I'm thinking about it, him being out more than being in. But again, if he ends up playing, I just want to have the spots built in for him right now.
It makes me think he's a true game time decision.
Yeah.
Where I think they're really like, hey, dude got the shit kicked out of him yesterday, really got banged up. And they really want to make sure he goes through shoot around, goes through that, well, not shoot around, but the warm-ups, and make sure he's feeling good before they make a decision.
Yep.
Sally Sal in our Discord wants to know, do we prefer Bruno Fernando or Dean Wade for FanDuel? Fernando over Dean Wade.
Same.
And then Rico Rod wanted to know FanDuel plays by position. We did just hit on that. He asked after we answered that one, but then he wants to know, who are we prioritizing from the 76ers tonight?
Nobody.
Yeah, there's nobody who I look at from the 76ers who I like, I need to get to them.
KJ Martin, I have 4% of. He's the guy I have the most of.
Yeah, no real priorities. Tobias Harris, eventually he's going to make shots. Eventually.
Not against Herb Jones. He's not. Not tonight. Number one in defensive rating since the All-Star break, the New Orleans Pelicans. The number one team in pick and roll defense over the course of this season, the New Orleans Pelicans. Not that Tobias Harris has a pick and roll partner for tonight. Kyle Lowry, that's not going to be it. But I got to tell you, I mean, this is a defense that if I had to bet one team at current prices right now to win the NBA Finals, I would pick the New Orleans Pelicans.
Ooh, I would not. I don't know what the odds are, but I wouldn't pick the Pelicans.
Current odds, purely because of the wings. I mean, the Trey Murphy thing, the Najee Marshall off the bench, and then again, Herb Jones is just watch him play defense. It's probably the defender that I've enjoyed watching play defense more than anybody else in the entire league this season, outside of course, Victor Wembanyama.
Relative to odds, I would be most inclined if I'm taking a chance on somebody at long odds, you get the 76ers for like the same odds as the Pelicans. I don't know what the status is going to be of Joel Embiid, but if he does come back for the playoffs, they're just so crazy undervalued.
Yeah. My thing is like you play Zion for 40 minutes a night, and that seems like an improvement. Like that seems like a really good improvement. They've been blasting teams lately, and it's just really Herb Jones can guard every single position on the floor outside of like a big five, and like it is really fun to watch him just go nuts. It is wild. He is an incredible basketball player.
If you guys haven't done it, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to be at lock in 7 minutes, but that doesn't mean the show is ending. Well, it's going to be ending on YouTube, but we're going to continue partying over on playback. So a few minutes, once we get to lock, guys, you could just transition over to playback and watch myself and Josh. And then we're going to jump on. We're planning on going on pretty late today because Josh's wife is having a dinner party and he's trying to get away from interacting with anybody. So he's going to be hanging out with me on playback. We're going to go in pretty late tonight. Next question in our Discord channel. It is coming to us from K Sizzle. He wants to know any pick six plays they're really liking tonight.
I have a ton of them tonight. I'm playing a ton on pick six tonight. I've been playing tons there. My ROI is so much higher there than at any other spot. Use promo code LPL if you guys want to sign up and take advantage of anything over there, because again, pick six is the future. It is phenomenal, the ROI. And some people bitch because they play the 2-pick stuff and it pays out a little bit lower from time to time than prize picks or than underdog. But guess what? It's going to, when you have the option to have props stay the same and they get added throughout the day and people don't adjust to news. So you got to go to D'Angelo Russell, 5.5 assists. Way, way, way too low without LeBron James on the floor. We're nearing 40% assist rates here. You're clicking on D'Angelo Russell. You could add his PRA if you really want to. Anthony Davis, 22.5 points, like a freebie. It opened at 23.5. It dropped to 22. Well, pick six didn't change, but they opened it at 22.5, knowing that the industry didn't change off of 23.5 all day. So that's an absolute slam. I'm playing that just about everywhere. Then I'm rotating around a couple of these from the early game and not getting crazy amounts of exposure there. Because again, on pick six, you can swap. So I'm going to want to swap into different pieces of Milwaukee, Los Angeles, based on what that news is. You have Houston, Portland, where I think that there's a couple of really good ones. I think I like the under on 37.5 for Simons, even though he's up to 39.5 now around the industry. So I'm probably going to hit eject on that one on pick six, but I'm basically able to change my stances to the marketplace, react to late news. It is the nuts. So check out pick six. But my favorite two right now, Anthony Davis, 22.5 points, over 5.5 for assists. D'Angelo Russell, over.
Race Fan 22 left a super chat. He wants to know the 5 players we're getting the most exposure to. So I've got one
Holmes,
final
Misic,
run going right here. Micic is definitely going to be one. Rashawn Holmes is going to be another one for me. Anybody else you would add in as players who you are pretty confident are going to be your 5 most rostered?
So Rashawn Holmes, Micic, Jaren Jackson Jr., Kyle Kuzma, and Sadiq Bey.
I dig it.
And then Ant is 6 right now because nobody knows, and I love this.
Gray, any Duncan Robinson? Not a priority for me today.
No.
Will Griffey, what player on DK above 7K is the best points per dollar play? Ooh. So above 7K, do you consider the best points per dollar play?
Above 7K.
Honestly,
Edwards. Up here. Probably Anthony Edwards. Let me pull it up here. I'm sorting by it. Over 7K. It's Miles Bridges for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Edwards.
I love it. I freaking love it. I mean, I'm boosting the shit out of him, so I'm here for it.
He's in my single entry lineup.
Let's go.
Just uploaded all of that.
Let's go, doggy.
Next question from our Discord channel. It is a 2v2 from Calvin. He wants to know Poole and Rozier or Ingram and Conchar. That's Poole and Rozier. Next question from Ethan7. He wants to know, are we still boosting Conley in addition to Anthony Edwards? Yes, I am. I want to be prepared for either situation. I want to be prepared for Edwards being in or Edwards being out. And it's pretty easy for me to just use the late swap tool to change my lineups, whatever ends up happening 15 minutes from now.
Yep. What does your heart tell you?
M. Grizzly, is 82% Rashawn Holmes enough? Yeah, I don't have an issue with that at all.
Just fine with it. I have all of it.
That's almost the exact same number I ended up with.
I have 100, so that's cool.
Let's see. My actual final exposure here to Rashawn Holmes is 83%. Pretty damn close to what I've got. So I have no issue with 82. If you want to say that you should have 83 instead of 82 because he has 82 enough, I'm technically a little bit higher, but it's a fine number you got. Jay wants to know Bey or Poole. So we're assuming, I guess, in this scenario that the salary difference doesn't matter.
I guess so.
Not there's a big difference, but Poole is $300 more expensive. Between the two of them, it's just like utility spot, I go Poole over Bey. How about yourself, Eric?
Agreed.
Yeah, Poole by a little bit there. Jordan,
I love Poole.
And I think we're caught up on the questions. We are. Anything that ended up happening in your lineup? And first, do you have your lineups uploaded?
Yep, they're up. So I have 100% Holmes, 100% Micic. Welcome to today's slate. Let's rock in the $4. My big stand that I ended up doing, I boosted up Edwards over 50%. I have 52% of him. I'll obviously be able to switch out of that pretty easily in the event that he ends up out. We have Jimmy Butler positionally that should make things a little bit easier for me. SGA, tons of lineup spots still backloaded. Jaren Jackson Jr. went up a little bit for me too. I was pretty neutral to the field, now sitting at 42% for me. He's identical to Kyle Kuzma there out of my 50. Jordan Poole sitting there around 30. Jordan Goodwin, again, Memphis with the GG Jackson stuff. There's going to be something that unfolds there. It sounds like just like going through Twitter while we were on the show, he might be out. So pay attention to news there. But obviously the biggie, Anthony Edwards, I've kind of built out lineups for both scenarios. So have a game plan in mind with what you're going to do there. We've got half an hour after this. That's why you want to be in playback hanging out with Greg and Josh right now.
Fibluminous in the playback channel says he's playing on a site that doesn't have late swap. I wouldn't play Edwards on a slate without late swap.
I would not either. It would just be a huge, I mean, you're asking for pure pain.
So the reason it works for, DraftKings or FanDuel is because we could just make swaps in 15 minutes. But I'm not super confident Edwards plays. I'm just taking a guess that he might play, he might not play. But if he does play, I think he's going to be under-owned.
Correct.
And that is going to take us to lock. If you guys have not done yet, do us a big favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and join us over on Playback. We're about to start the show over there. Josh will probably be jumping in soon. And yeah, we'll start sweating the games. We're going to go over some first basket stuff. Somebody's going to win a free Odd Shopper sub. And probably won't be Josh or I hitting on the first basket. We'll do our damn best to try to guess the right answer. So see you guys over there. If you aren't joining us on Playback, good luck and have a great weekend.